So about Ranking of Kings, I'm really late to this series, not because I wasn't aware of it or anything. I knew about Ranking of Kings ever since the first week it came out. It's just that I never planned on giving it a chance. Usually whenever a new season starts, I skim over the new series and try to pick out the good ones. And when I came upon Ranking of Kings, it didn't really have anything stand out. The description of it wasn't exactly eye-catching either. If I'm being honest, it looked pretty kiddie, so I moved on, convinced that it was probably just some slice of life meant for younger audiences. But then one day my friend came up to me about the series. He was asking me if I watched Ranking of Kings and I told him no. And he was really surprised because he thought I would have picked it up. He was telling me about it and how it was his favorite anime of the fall season. At first I wasn't really taking him seriously because it looked like there was really nothing going on in the series. It looked like it would be your average wholesome anime with kiddie characters. But my friend sounded so serious about it I had to see what was going on. So even though I had my doubts, I ended up watching Ranking of Kings. And after watching the 10 current episodes out, I'm pretty surprised, especially since I had always thought I had a good eye for picking out good shows. But also how my friend was right about it being the best anime of the fall season. I mean, granted there wasn't that much competition. The fall season was pretty tame relative to other seasons, but still it was hidden under all those mecha animes that came out. So I wanted to talk about it today. Ranking of Kings and what it's all about, as well as what makes it so good. Before that though, like and subscribe for future content. Alright, so as I stated earlier, this show looks really kiddie at first glance. It's hard to try and take it seriously when it looks like a kid's show. The main character looks like he belongs in PBS Kids, but that was probably intentional by the author, because while it may look like a kid's show, it is definitely not intended for kids. For those who are unaware, I will give a brief summary of the show, without trying to spoil anything of course. Well, I will try not to, but just a heads up if I end up doing it anyway by accident. But yeah, in Rankings of Kings we follow our main character Bojji. Bojji is the prince of the Bojji Kingdom. The Bojji Kingdom is the 7th ranked kingdom at this point, with their king Boss being recognized as the strongest man alive. Which brings me to another point of the story. As the name suggests, there is some sort of ranking system in place, and sure enough, kingdoms are given rankings across the entire world. This is based off of the overall quality of the kingdom, so the economic wealth, the citizens of the kingdom, how safe it is, and all that other stuff to judge quality of life in that kingdom, as well as judging the strength of the king, which is how the Bojji Kingdom was able to become a high-ranking kingdom. But Bojji the king is ill, and will soon have to decide who will inherit the throne, because it is not just Bojji who is a prince there. He also has a younger stepbrother named Daida. Although usually the older brother is the default choice, things are not looking too hot for Bojji. Daida is a lot more outspoken, stronger, and what people think is more charming than Bojji. He has every quality that you would want for a good king, while Bojji doesn't. Bojji is the complete opposite of his younger brother. For starters, Bojji is deaf. He was born deaf, and because of this cannot communicate outside of a very small group of people. Bojji knows how to read lips, but he does not know how to speak himself. But on top of being deaf, he was also not very physically gifted. He was stated numerous times to not have any athletic talent, and has absolutely zero potential in anything related to being strong. So out of the two, Bojji ends up being the prince looked down on. He doesn't really have any friends, and the people in the castle play favorites with Daida. He gets made fun of inside the castle, as well as by the citizens of the kingdom. Daida's mom and Bojji's stepmom is the queen of the kingdom, ever since Bojji's mom died, and she doesn't mind speaking out the fact that she wants Daida to become king. But then one day while Bojji is just outside the kingdom while he's playing, he runs into Kage. Kage is a black puddle thing and he's a thief. So when they run into each other, he makes Bojji give him everything on him. But Bojji ends up being happy about it, since Kage ended up being able to understand him. So they ended up making an agreement that they would meet in the same spot every day, so that they could chat and Bojji would bring him expensive clothing. This continues on for a little bit, and Kage ends up getting a little attached to Bojji. They slowly become friends, and Kage follows Bojji into the kingdom, where he sees firsthand Bojji being bullied by the citizens, while he's trying to get to the castle. But Bojji seems to be in a good mood, probably since he is deaf, and he just finished his chat with Kage. When he gets to the castle though, he ends up being scolded by the queen, since he is in only his underwear, because he kept giving his clothes to Kage, but no one knows about that part. And his stepmom ends up kind of being a bitch, and badmouths him since he is deaf. But he understood what she said, and ended up going to his room crying. Later on, Bojji ends up being in a spar with his brother Daida. Everyone, including me, was expecting Bojji to get a beatdown on him, since just before that they were talking about how good Daida is for his age. But Bojji ended up messing with Daida. He was able to easily dodge all of Daida's attacks, and even deal blows to him. Since he was still physically weak, they did nothing, but he landed all of his hits. But after a while, the instructor intervened and whispered something into Bojji's ear, and after that, Bojji for some reason refused to dodge anymore, and took all of Daida's attacks head on. At this point, it became one-sided in Daida's favor, and Bojji ended up getting beaten really badly. By the end of it, Bojji ends up with his body being broken and bruised. I don't know if I can say any more past that, but yeah, that's pretty much most of what happens in the first episode. There's still way more to discuss, but I don't want to ruin it for anyone who has yet to see the show. All I can say is that there's a lot more going on than what the show lets on. There's deception, secret factions, and a whole bunch of other stuff in the series. Magic is brought up too, and we learn some secrets about the Bojji Kingdom, as well as expansions of the world. Everything gets a lot more interesting the more you get into it. The whole deal with the rankings we still don't know a lot about either, like the people who run the organization and what their place in the story is. A lot was built around what seemed to be a pretty straightforward topic. This made me kinda glad that I ended up holding out so long on it, since I ended up catching up in one sitting. It was really good. So for anyone that was dubious about starting it, definitely give it a chance, you won't regret it. But yeah, that is pretty much all I had to say about Rankings of Kings. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe for more content. Peace.